Hi, my name's Killian, and I'm Photosoc's equipment officer this year. Now, this year Fotosoc is hoping to get a bit more invested in film photography, and I've been a big fan of film photography for a few years. So I thought I'd make this video kind of as an introduction to film photography. But before I get into that, this is my first ever vlog, and from what I've seen, I'm required to film some epic cinematic B-roll of me making a cup of coffee before I can start. So let's go do that. Right, so why are some people still shooting film when digital has been invented? From what I've seen, people tend to fall into one of a couple of different camps. On the kind of older side, you got people who either just haven't really noticed that digital had taken over, or were just happy out with their film camera and weren't really too bothered with learning how to use new types of cameras. And on the other end of the spectrum, you kind of have people who are a bit younger. They kind of see film photography as a bit of a throwback, something a bit retro. And for this reason, film photography sometimes has this like stigma of being kind of like a hipster thing, a bit of a fad, or something temporary that's going to go away. I tend to disagree with this opinion. Obviously, digital has some crazy benefits in terms of ease of use, convenience, and image quality. Honestly, like, I mean, up until about 2010, there might have been an argument there about whether digital or film had produced the best images, but I think that's been laid to rest now. I mean, anything short of like a large format film camera is going to be smoked by most digital cameras these days. And a large format film camera also has the benefit of being big enough to live in when you inevitably have to sell your house to pay for film for it. Yeah, so like on paper, these things are like totally outdated, right? They're slow, they've got like a high running cost in terms of buying film and getting it developed. So why do people still use these? For some people, price might be a factor. So you've been using your phone or maybe like a compact camera or something, you want to get a camera that has full manual control, interchangeable lenses, something that you can really practice with and learn on, but you're not 100% sure if photography is going to be your thing. Buying like even like a low-end DSLR is a big ask. When I bought this camera, this was the cheapest new DSLR on the market, basically. And yeah, I still had to save up for a long time. It was a lot of money. You could buy a second-hand DSLR for cheap, but by the time you get down to like the price range that most manual film cameras are going to be at, you're really looking at a camera that's like 10 or 12, you know, up to 15 years old. The quality isn't going to be there. Film still looks fantastic. Obviously, it's not as technically good as most digital photos are gonna be these days. But that being said, professionals used cameras like this. Not this. This was a kind of a cheap camera back in the day as well. But they did use film cameras for, you know, close to a century, right? They still produce fantastic images. So upfront cost, there's a big difference between these two cameras. But it is true that film cameras do have a running cost. But yeah, if you're just starting out, you just want to mess around with something for like a few months, see if you like photography, you really can't beat this. The next thing is gonna be kind of like the shooting experience and ergonomics and that sort of thing. When I bought this was Nikon's cheapest camera. Still a lot of money, but it doesn't feel like what it costs, if you get me. It's like 100% plastic, it doesn't weigh anything. It's kind of flimsy, it feels like it would smash if I dropped it. It's only got one control dial to control all your settings if you're on manual control. Whereas for less than half the price of this, I picked up a Nikon F3. And when this came out, this was Nikon's flagship camera. This was their top of the line sports press photojournalist camera. This thing is like solid metal all the way through. It weighs a ton. It is rock solid. It's got separate dials for everything. It's built like a brick shithouse, right? So if I'm out in the street and some guy tries to rob this on me, I'm very confident that this thing will double as like a self-defense weapon. It just looks sexy. This was designed by, I'm gonna have to look up his name. I'm gonna murder this name. This was designed by an Italian guy called Giorgetto Giugiaro. I'll put the correct pronunciation of his name right here.
Giorgetto Giugiaro.
Yeah, but he used to work for Ferrari. He designed this. It's surprisingly easy to use, but it has the option of full manual control, which is another big reason why I would encourage people who are used to shooting on digital to try film. It forces you to slow down. You'll see this all the time if you're in town, and I'm definitely guilty of doing this all the time. They'll like take a picture and they'll like look at the back of the screen, check it, oh that didn't turn out so good, I'll take another one, look at the back of the screen, I'm not quite happy with that, take another one, look at the back of the screen. But with a film camera, every time you press the shutter button, that's going to cost money. And so it really forces you to be super picky with your photos, take your time, make sure your exposure is right, make sure your focus is right, make sure you're happy with your composition, and then wait till the exact right moment to press the shutter and get that one good picture. And you can't check if your picture has turned out because you need to wait until it's developed. So you just got to take a picture and move on. And since shooting film, whenever I do bring out my digital camera, it's really made me faster. So like I'll take a shot and then I'll just move on. I'm not checking the back of the screen, it's not slowing me down. I'm confident that I've probably got the exposure right just because I've practiced on film cameras. That change in the process of shooting applies to the editing and post process as well. So with a digital camera, you take your photos, you take them into Lightroom or Photoshop, or even if you just bring them straight into Instagram and edit them in Instagram, you can really change the look of the photo in post by a lot. Like you can totally change the colors, you can totally change the feel and the mood, you can make it dark and like grimy and gritty and stuff, or you can make it like super light and saturated. And with a film camera, you've got to think about what the final image is going to look like from the very beginning before you even take a single photo. So it begins when you choose what type of film to put into your camera. They all have different looks. You got black and white, you got color, you got slide film. Even within color, some are better at rendering skin tones, some are better at landscapes. You can't change the sensitivity of your film mid-roll. You gotta buy a roll of film that's good for either dim lighting or really bright lighting, and then you have to stick with it, so you gotta think ahead. And yeah, all this is if you've been into film for a long time and you're really interested in the technology and in the cameras and in the process. But that's what I'm saying. You don't know if you're into that stuff unless you give it a try. So give it a try. It's cheap, and if cheap isn't cheap enough, you can get into film photography for free, hopefully this year, because we're making a push on film photography here at Fotosoc. At the moment I'm looking for a film camera to buy so that we can rent it out to people. When we've made a choice and we get it in, I will definitely make a video tutorial explaining how to use it. And I'll let you know when it's available to rent. And when you've been doing it a while, you can start to experiment with different types of film as well. So like this is in my F3 at the moment. It is Cinestill, right? So oh, am I in focus? The camera I'm filming this on doesn't have autofocus. Every time I move I need to like adjust and then check and then adjust it. It's a nightmare. Yeah, so Cinestill, right? So this is Kodak movie film, right? So this is what they use in film cameras, like for cinema, right? But it's been repackaged into a 35mm cartridge, so that's fun. It's expensive online, but I found it really cheap in Germany. And that's where I found this as well, in Berlin. This is a Lomachrome purple. It turns greens purple. I haven't used it yet, but whenever I do get around to using it, I will be sure to make a video about it. But yeah, I'll be putting out more videos on the Fotosoc YouTube channel this year. I've got some ideas for tutorials. When I get back into DCU and I get my hands on our equipment locker, I'll be doing a little mini tutorial on every piece of equipment that we offer for rent. And once I get my hands on our new film camera, you'll be the first to know, and I'll do a tutorial on that as well. The rest of the Fotosoc committee are going to be uploading videos to this channel as well, so make sure you subscribe for those. Our webmaster Mark just put out a great video on our Instagram, so follow us on Instagram as well. We just got a TikTok this week, so you can go subscribe to that. Do you subscribe on TikTok? Links to all of our socials will be down below in the description, and also our email addresses if you want to get in contact. Leave a comment on this video. Hey, thanks for watching.